America's ascent, from isolation to global hegemon. The United States has not always been a global superpower. For much of its early history it remained largely isolationist, focused on westward expansion and internal development. The vast oceans that separated it from Europe and Asia provided a natural buffer, allowing the young nation to grow and prosper in relative peace. This period of isolation, however, would not last. The 20th century brought with it two devastating world wars, which shattered the old order and thrust the United States onto the center stage of global affairs. With its industrial might and unwavering commitment to democracy, America emerged from the ashes of World War II as the world's dominant power. This newfound global role was not sought out, but it was one that America embraced. The decades following World War II witnessed an unprecedented period of peace and prosperity, often referred to as the Pax Americana. This era was marked by the establishment of international institutions like the United Nations and the World Bank, designed to foster cooperation and prevent future conflicts. Underpinning this new world order was the unrivaled military and economic might of the United States. American military bases were established across the globe, projecting power and deterring aggression. The US dollar became the world's reserve currency, facilitating international trade and investment. American leadership, however, was not without its critics. Some argued that the United States overstepped its bounds, intervening in foreign conflicts and propping up authoritarian regimes in the name of national security. Others maintained that the benefits of American hegemony outweighed the costs, providing stability and security in a volatile world. The end of the Cold War marked a pivotal moment in global history. The collapse of the Soviet Union left the United States as the sole remaining superpower, but it also ushered in an era of profound change and uncertainty. The unipolar moment, as it came to be known, proved to be short-lived. The forces of globalization, technological innovation, and shifting demographics began to reshape the global landscape, empowering new actors and challenging the established order. Emerging economies like China, India, and Brazil experienced rapid economic growth, eroding the West's economic dominance. Regional powers asserted themselves on the world stage, no longer content to play by the rules set by Washington. The rise of non-state actors, from terrorist organizations to multinational corporations, further complicated the global power dynamics. The shift towards a multipolar world coincided with a growing sense of disillusionment and introspection within the United States itself. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, the 2008 financial crisis, and the widening gap between the rich and poor fueled a sense that America's global commitments had come at the expense of its own citizens. This sentiment found expression in a growing chorus of voices, calling for a retrenchment from costly foreign interventions and a renewed focus on domestic issues. The election of Donald Trump in 2016 and his America First agenda further amplified this sentiment, signaling a potential turning point in America's global role. The Trump administration's decision to withdraw from the Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Agreement, the Paris Climate Accord, and the Iran nuclear deal reflected this inward-looking approach, raising concerns among allies and emboldening rivals. The imposition of tariffs on Chinese goods ignited a trade war that threatened to disrupt the global economy. Section 5, Border Security, Fortress America, or a Misguided Focus. One of the most visible manifestations of this inward turn has been the heightened focus on border security. The Trump administration's signature policy of building a wall along the US-Mexico border became a rallying cry for those who felt that America's sovereignty and identity were under threat. Proponents of this approach argue that securing the border is essential for preventing illegal immigration, drug trafficking, and terrorism. They point to the porous nature of the southern border as a national security vulnerability that must be addressed. Critics, however, argue that the focus on border security is misguided and counterproductive. They argue that it diverts resources from more pressing issues, fuels xenophobia and discrimination, and damages America's reputation as a welcoming nation. They point out that illegal immigration has been declining for years, and that the vast majority of those who cross the border illegally are seeking economic opportunity, not to do harm. Section 6. The Contenders, Who Will Wear the Global Crown? As the United States appears to be stepping back from its global leadership role, the question arises, who, if anyone, will fill the void. Several contenders have emerged, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. China, with its rapidly growing economy, military modernization, and assertive foreign policy, is widely seen as the most likely candidate to challenge American dominance. Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative, a massive infrastructure project spanning Asia, Africa, and Europe, is seen by many as a bid to reshape the global order in China's favor. Russia, under the leadership of Vladimir Putin, has sought to reassert its influence on the world stage, leveraging its military might and energy resources to project power beyond its borders. Moscow's interventions in Syria and Ukraine, while condemned by the West, have demonstrated its willingness to challenge the status quo. Other potential contenders include the European Union, India, and Japan. However, each of these actors faces its own set of challenges, from internal divisions to demographic constraints, which may limit their ability to exert global leadership. Section 7. The Future of the Dollar. A currency at a crossroads. The potential decline of American power raises questions about the future of the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. For decades, the dollar has reigned supreme, underpinning global trade, investment, and finance. However, the weaponization of the dollar through sanctions and the growing clout of alternative currencies, such as the euro and the Chinese yuan, have eroded confidence in the dollar's long-term dominance. Some analysts predict that a multipolar world will inevitably lead to a multipolar currency system, with the dollar sharing its privileged status with other currencies. The implications of such a shift are profound. A decline in the dollar's status would reduce America's economic and financial leverage, making it more costly for the United States to borrow money and potentially leading to higher inflation. Section 8. Respecting democracy, navigating a divided nation. The debate over America's global role is inextricably linked to the deep political divisions that have come to characterize American society. The rise of populism, nationalism, and identity politics has fueled a sense of grievance and resentment among certain segments of the population, leading to a questioning of long-held assumptions about America's place in the world. In this polarized environment, it is more important than ever to respect the democratic process and the choices made by the American people. Whether one agrees or disagrees with the current administration's policies, it is essential to engage in constructive dialogue and debate, seeking common ground where possible and upholding the values of civility and respect. The future of America's global role will ultimately be decided by the American people. Section 9. America's global role, a future unwritten. The future of America's global role remains unwritten. The United States is at a crossroads, facing a confluence of internal and external challenges that will test its resilience and resolve. Some argue that America's best days are behind it, that its decline is inevitable. Others maintain that the United States retains unique strengths and advantages that will allow it to adapt and thrive in the 21st century. The path that America chooses will have profound implications not only for its own citizens but for the world at large. A retreat from global leadership would leave a void that no single power could easily fill, potentially leading to greater instability and conflict. Conversely, a renewed commitment to international engagement, grounded in a realistic assessment of America's interests and values, could help to shape a more peaceful and prosperous future for all.